Ladies and gentlemen, whether we like it or not, hazards are a pivotal aspect of competitive Pokemon. A source of frustration for many, however I think that hazards are an important mechanic that keep defensive Pokemon in check and act as a straightforward win condition for various teams. Hazards are moves that deal damage or apply an effect whenever a Pokemon switches in. In generations 2 to 5, hazards can be removed from your field using Rapid Spin. Hazard setters and rapid spinners are natural rivals. Ghost types are a great ally to hazard setters. With their immunity to rapid spin, they maintain hazards on the field by blocking attempts to remove them. Rapid spinners have a great ally as well, Pursuit users. Pursuit is a move that can be used to trap and eliminate ghost types, and without a ghost type, you can rapid spin freely, get rid of those hazards, hindering a core aspect of the enemy's game plan. In Generation 6 onwards, with the addition of Defog, a more reliable way to remove hazards that can't be blocked by a ghost type, the hazard game is played completely differently. Teams relying on maintaining hazards will opt to threaten common Defog users, or use mechanics like Taunt or Defiant to hinder the enemy's Defog plan. The way that strategies form around hazards will define the pace and identity of a Pokemon format. In this video, I want to go through all the different types of hazards and examples of their impact. The most powerful and controversial hazard, Stealth Rock, will deal a set amount of damage to a Pokemon when they switch in, based on their weakness to Rock type. This is probably the most powerful move in Pokemon history, and isn't really archetype specific. Since its introduction in Gen 4, the vast majority of teams use Stealth Rock somewhere because of its high impact and low commitment. This move can feel a bit restrictive and probably deserves a bit of a redesign or nerf, but since that's never realistically going to happen, it's just something we have to accept the existence of. The way that Stealth Rock punishes flying types does make sense. Flying is a powerful defensive type that is immune to spikes. There should be a hazard that targets them, and despite losing a significant 25% when coming in against Stealth Rock, flying types are still extremely commonly used staple Pokemon in every metagame. In the case of a Pokemon like Dragonite, Stealth Rock actually keeps it balanced. Its extremely powerful ability Multiscale halves all damage it takes from attacks when at full health. Without Stealth Rock on the field, Dragonite is very difficult to deal with. His ability allows him to shrug off damage from any hit he takes, even super effective ones, allowing him a crucial turn to set up Dragon Dance and prepare for a sweep. When Stealth Rock is on the field, he will lose the Multiscale effect after taking damage upon switching in, removing that safety net that would allow him to safely set up Dragon Dance. Stealth Rock really restricts the viability of Fire, Ice, and Bug types. Though Fire is often associated with offensive Pokemon, some defensive Fire types can be quite effective in some situations, and it's unfortunate that Stealth Rock restricts their room to breathe so much. These are, however, very offensively oriented types in general. The most viable Pokemon of these types are either paired with a type that resists Rock, or have such a powerful offensive type combination, powerful stats, or move pool that they can be viable in spite of their weakness to Stealth Rock. I think that examples like this prove that Stealth Rock isn't so bad when Pokemon are designed around its existence, and in these cases, Stealth Rock is a necessary way to keep powerful offensive threats in check. A good format will have a variety of Pokemon that like and dislike Stealth Rock, and a variety of ways to play around the way Stealth Rock impacts the game. Depending on the matchup and the Pokemon in every individual game, the impact of Stealth Rock will change. Spikes are a hazard that deal a set 12.5% damage regardless of type whenever a Pokemon switches in. Spikes can be stacked up to 3 times, dealing additional damage for each stack. Flying type Pokemon and Pokemon with the Levitate ability are immune to Spikes damage. I consider Spikes to be the most balanced hazard. They aren't an auto-include like Stealth Rock, and while powerful, do require your team to be built around maintaining and abusing them. Since you have to set multiple layers, they are higher commitment. One turn of clicking Rapid Spin can erase a 3-turn commitment of Spikes, and create a big shift in momentum. In Generation 3, Spikes are the only hazard in the game, with Stealth Rock not released until Generation 4. Many team styles in this generation completely rely on making Spikes and using the momentum and long-term chip damage they create as a win condition. Gengar is used to keep Spikes on the field by blocking Rapid Spin. Gengar can also use its excellent offensive type coverage to force switches, further abusing the spikes. Players have, of course, adapted to this powerful playstyle and built teams that trap and eliminate Gengar with Pursuit Tyranitar, and also use Magneton to trap and eliminate the most popular spikes user, Skarmory. Hazard removers like Claydol or Starmie can then freely rapid spin and enable Pokemon that thrive with spikes off the field like Suicune, Celebi or Snorlax as win conditions. With Generation 3's lack of team preview, these trappers can be even more disguised and effective at enabling this game plan. Although spike-based teams are extremely popular in this format, there are plenty of tools at the player's disposal to target and exploit them. Spending a turn creating spikes or switching to Gengar can be a very telegraphed move, inviting in a trapper or powerful threat to ruin your entire strategy. One turn of using spikes is a strong move that generates a lot of long-term value, but compared to the huge impact for a single turn that Stealth Rock is, it feels very manageable. When using a spike strategy, you need to build teams that can handle your common counters and play intelligently and proactively to keep momentum up and make your spikes work. When team preview is in effect, teams using spikes can be aware that a trapper like Magnezone or Pursuit Tyranitar is in the game, and factor that into their game plan. You can also clearly see the way your spikes user lines up against their rapid spinner. In Generation 5 OU, if your spikes user is Ferrothorn and their rapid spinner is Starmie, you have the advantage because you're able to threaten a one-hit KO using Power Whip and shrug off damage from their attacks. If their rapid spinner is Tentacruel, you might have a bit more trouble, with its powerful chip heal effect in Rain Dish plus Black Sludge and the risk of being burned by Scald. These matchups can change based on what weather effect is up, whether they have a Pokemon that can exploit your spikes user using Substitute or a boost move, and various other factors. Sometimes spikes aren't even worth using when the enemy has too many spikes immune Pokemon. You need to identify when it's safe and worthwhile to create spikes and when it isn't, and in every individual game, your plan will be different. I believe that spikes are a cornerstone of metagame health and a very necessary anti-defensive mechanic. They are logical as a win condition and lead to creativity in team building and dynamic matchup situations. They are at an appropriate power level and the strategies that exploit or counter them are on an even footing. Toxic spikes will apply poison to a Pokemon that switches in. One layer will apply regular poison, while 2 layers will apply toxic poison. Flying types, steel types, and Pokemon with Levitate are immune. And when a poison type switches in, they completely remove the toxic spikes from the field. This is a more niche hazard, a bit easier to play around due to steel and poison types being able to shrug it off. However, it can be a great move against defensive teams. Natural cure Pokemon like Blissey that usually shrug off status now have their longevity completely gutted by toxic spikes, a form of status that they can't remove. In Generation 4, this is quite a viable strategy, since there aren't many common poison types to remove their hazard, and a lot of Pokemon are great at abusing the poison. This is a pretty balanced hazard that I don't really have any complaints about. Not as metagame defining as Stealth Rock and Spikes, but it does have its place. Sticky Web is a hazard introduced in Generation 6. It will lower a Pokemon's speed by 1 stage upon switching in. Flying types and Levitate users are immune. Sticky Web is pretty specific to Hyper Offense style teams, most commonly used in Generation 6 OU. These teams will create Sticky Web and Stealth Rock with a Suicide Bleed like Smeargle or Shuckle, and use Bishop because its ability Defiant will buff Bishop's attack if the enemy uses Defog to try to remove the Sticky Web. Sticky Web will cripple the opponent's speed, allowing slow offensive threats like Mega Scizor and Azumarill to break through and win. If they choose to defog the Sticky Web away, the offense will continue with Bishop's Defiant. Sticky Web has a lower overall metagame impact than the others, and pretty much just enables this one specific type of hyper offense style. In my experience, it's a pretty one-dimensional team archetype to play with and against, and can be quite frustrating to deal with if your team is unprepared. It can be difficult to find a balance between trying to cover these hyper offense threats, while also being able to function against the rest of the metagame. Admittedly, I haven't played Generation 6 OU much at all, except for back when it was the current format. But I did play a lot of Generation 7 Ubers, where Sticky Web was a relatively common and very annoying hyper offense strategy. Of course, this is just my own preference. I'd love to hear some thoughts from any pro Sticky Web gamers in the comments if there's any of you out there. It's certainly the hazard with the most unique effect that created an all-new way to structure offensive teams. Defog removes hazards on both sides of the field. Unlike Rapid Spin, it is not blockable by ghost types, although Taunt will prevent it from being used. Defog expands the amount of hazard removers in the game massively, since only a select few Pokemon get Rapid Spin. Great defensive Pokemon that were already commonly used like Rotom Wash, Skarmory, and Gliscor now have an excellent new utility option to remove hazards. Defog can even be used as a fringe option on offensive Pokemon. Choice Scarf users like Latios or Landorus Therian often use Defog as an emergency form of hazard removal in certain situations. Since so many more Pokemon get Defog than Rapid Spin, it's a bit harder to target specific hazard removers when building teams. Using a dedicated spin blocker is also less common with this new form of hazard removal that can't be blocked by ghosts. Part of me wishes that instead of introducing Defog, they just designed more Rapid Spin users, and designed the ghost types with the Rapid Spin users in mind, giving both tools to handle each other. The presence of Defog definitely makes spikes feel worse and changes all the dynamics between spinners and hazard setters that I've talked about up until this point. Some Defog users can also be frustratingly difficult to break through. I don't love Defog, but I don't hate it either. At least it's a very telegraphed and obvious move that you can exploit with a proactive play, and a lot of the same ideas of keeping momentum up to get the most out of your hazards still apply with Defog. The fact that it removes hazards on both sides does give merit to using Rapid Spin as well, usually on more offensive teams. Defiant is also a very cool offensive tool against Defog that makes Bisharp one of my favorite Pokemon to use in the modern generations. My least favorite anti-hazard mechanic that I haven't talked about till now is Heavy Duty Boots. Introduced in Generation 8, this item makes the holder completely immune to the effects of hazards. It's a weird one because I don't know how much of my frustration towards Boots is valid or just a knee-jerk reaction to something completely changing a fundamental game mechanic. But I do feel that this item is a very easy and also uninteresting way to patch a Pokemon's hazard weakness. Fast Pokemon with pivot moves, slow defensive Pokemon with great abilities like Natural Cure or Regenerator, and Pokemon that were kept in check and countered by the existence of hazards that needed to form their plan around eliminating hazards to function, can just throw on Boots and pretend that hazards don't exist. I wouldn't say that Boots are overpowered or should be banned, but I find them to be a very inelegant design solution to the Stealth Rock problem. Plenty of rock-weak Pokemon were still premier metagame threats before the existence of Boots, and there are many great formats where Stealth Rock feels manageable because of the hazard removers available in the metagame. Stealth Rock may restrict many Pokemon from viability, but why not actually design Pokemon around the existence of rocks and other hazards? Hazards are something I always complained about in the past, and as a new player who isn't prepared for them, they can be suffocating and hard to deal with. I welcomed the addition of Defog and even enjoyed the novelty of how Boots shifted the metagame for a brief time. But the more I tried to play Gen 8 OU, the more Boots made me actually miss hazards and realize how important they are. I consider them a core part of competitive Pokemon, and the hazard game is what contributes to my enjoyment of a format more than anything else. I would hereby like to ask all gamers to apologize for all the bad things that they've said about hazards and take them back. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is my first attempt at a more formal, educational video style, and I hope you liked it. I know it's a pretty simple topic to cover, but consider this a stepping stone for more high-effort content in the future. If you guys have any suggestions for stuff you want me to cover in future videos, please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about. I mainly focus on old gens, so generations 1 to 5. I wanted to talk more about how Stealth Rock specifically impacts Gen 4 OU, but it was a bit long for this video. I want to make maybe a separate video specifically on that topic, if you guys are interested in that. And I want to make a video specifically about Claydol as well, because he's my favorite Rapid Spinner ever, and I want to talk about why. Another video I'm working on is a ranking of every OU format, so that'll be coming out probably in the next month or so. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you liked the video.